Aquamarine is a beautiful crystal blue gemstone that has really gained in popularity. It's the birthstone for March, and it's really inspired by crystal, tropical, beautiful water. Here are 5 things you need to know about aquamarine. Aquamarine is actually a variety of the species beryl, just like morganite and emerald, and of course it is definitely more similar to pink or peachy morganite than it is to emerald. This is for a few different reasons. First of all, emerald is mostly mined from metamorphic rock, and it needs to be mined from hard rock. So there are a lot of very specific and difficult techniques that are used in order to mine emerald, and this definitely contributes to their high level of inclusions in general. Both aquamarine and morganite can be found in both metamorphic and igneous rock. However, they tend to be mined from igneous rock pegmatites most often. This makes these stones much easier to source because, for one, the crystals tend to grow in very large and eye-clean crystals, and this is why both aquamarine and morganite can be found in large carat sizes with beautiful clarity. The other thing that morganite and aquamarine definitely have in common is that they are naturally found with more of a yellowish tint, which is definitely something that you don't want when you're shopping for both of these gems. So in morganite, instead of having a true pink, we tend to see that peachy pink color because of the yellow, and with aquamarine, instead of having a nice saturated true blue, you tend to find more of a greenish blue. That's why both of these crystals almost always are heat treated in order to get that yellow tint out of the crystal and have it have a more deeper saturated color. The only gems you're really going to find with aquamarine and morganite that are not heat treated are very high value crystals that tend to be used more in designer jewelry. So as far as availability and demand and general rarity, we're definitely going to put emerald very high at the top as far as the beryl species is concerned, and then you're going to have aquamarine, which is probably exponentially lower, and then morganite a little bit lower than that as far as both rarity and therefore value. Aquamarine is a gemstone that we find in mid-century jewelry, especially cocktail rings, very, very often. And this is because it really surged in the 40s along with another stone, citrine. This is because during the Second World War, it became very difficult to source the big 3, sapphires, rubies, and emeralds, and they just weren't available. So when you do find them in mid-century jewelry, they tend to be kind of in cluster designs with very, very, very small stones. On the other hand, citrine and aquamarine were definitely more highly available and again could be found in those large carat sizes. So for cocktail rings that became very popular during the mid-century era, as well as large, beautiful kind of bib style and cocktail necklaces and other very more formal jewelry. One of the most famous cocktail rings that we've seen with an aquamarine was, of course, Princess Diana's cocktail ring that she purchased for herself after her divorce, and it was over 30 carats. She purchased it from Asprey, and it was a beautiful stone accompanied by small diamonds on the shoulders of the ring. Just like the gemstone we've seen in Princess Diana's Asprey cocktail ring that of course is now sometimes worn by Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex, it is an emerald cut. And you may sometimes ask yourself, especially if you're in the market for aquamarines, why is almost every stone that I find an emerald cut? It's very rare to find an oval or even round cut aquamarine. And again, this is because aquamarines grow in those beautiful pegmatites where the crystals are very long and narrow. So gemstone cutters, they tend to kind of copy the rough when it comes to faceting the gemstone. The most long and narrow gem cut, other than a baguette, of course, is the emerald cut. So this allows the gem cutter to save as much rough as possible. So of course, he's not wasting any gemstone material and he's saving as much profit as possible. The other thing with emerald cut and aquamarine that just goes so beautifully together is, of course, that high clarity aquamarine material and its very water-like appearance. There's something about that emerald cut that just kind of makes you feel like you're about to dive into a pool of water. Those long, very angular and linear facets just really reflect the clarity and the beautiful luster of aquamarine so beautifully. The name aquamarine actually comes from the Latin words aqua marina, which means seawater, and so in the past, aquamarine crystals were very much associated with sailors, safety at sea, promoting calm waters. And it's also why aquamarine crystals are very much associated with peace of mind, tranquility, and just being calm and having a very soothing, calming experience. And some people do translate this into engagement rings or other pieces of jewelry when they want to kind of promote a peaceful union or marriage. You can wear aquamarine for an engagement ring. It ranges around 7.5 to 8 on the Mohs hardness scale, which is definitely hard enough to be used in daily wear. Of course, because aquamarines tend to be very high value, you can get quite large crystals at good prices. You might have a larger than normal, let's say, engagement ring, and so you do definitely have to be careful if you're wearing a very large size, because of course then it's just a little bit more prone to being banged around. Aquamarine are definitely found where other beryl species are found, so just like emerald, one of the biggest sources for aquamarine is Brazil, and they're also found in Zambia and Pakistan, along with some other places including Nigeria, Australia, even the United States, Mozambique, and Madagascar. As I mentioned, when you do find aquamarine in its natural state, it tends to be of a lighter tone and definitely tends to have more of that yellowish tint, which gives it a slightly greenish to bluish color. However, when you're shopping for aquamarine, you're going to notice that those with the highest price tags are definitely more saturated with a slightly darker tone, so more of a medium to medium dark tone with vivid blue saturation and absolutely no yellow tint. Very difficult, as I mentioned, to find these naturally. When you do, yes, the price tag is going to be quite high, but again, it's also very likely that these stones have been heat treated. When you do find them in those more saturated and darker tones, they can definitely look very similar to blue topaz, even in the lighter tones as well, because blue topaz tends to be irradiated and heat treated as well, so it really runs the gamut as far as the shades and colors of blue that you can find it in. However, because aquamarine is beryl, which makes it more rare and more in demand than blue topaz, the price tag is always going to be higher than blue topaz in general, especially because most blue topaz actually comes from brown or even colorless topaz that again has been treated to get that blue color. To learn more about how aquamarine and blue topaz stack up against each other, be sure to watch our video comparing these two stones. If you have any question about aquamarine or blue topaz, please feel free to leave them in the comments below and visit us on our main page at winstongemsandjewellery.com.